I don't know, man. Yeah, Lennox Lewis. Lennox, I'm coming for you.
And then have this in 7 or 8 seconds.
For this fight. I only trained probably 2 weeks or 3 weeks for this fight. I had to bury my best friend, and I dedicated this fight. I wasn't going to fight. I dedicated this fight to him. I was going to rip his heart out. I'm the best ever. I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been. There's no one can stop me. Lennox is a conqueror. No, I'm Alexander. He's no Alexander. I'm the best ever. There's never been anybody as ruthless. I'm Sonny Liston. I'm Jack Dempsey. There's no one like me. I'm from Nairclaw. There's no one that can match me. My style is impetuous. My defense is impregnable. And I'm just ferocious. I want your heart. I want to eat his children. Praise be to Allah.
Are you saying now, Mike?
To fight me alone, I don't care whatever you say about me, good or bad, you gotta have heart to even get in the ring with me. From start of the round, I seen them all. He was too emotional. When I watched him, when he came in the ring, as soon as I stepped in the ring, I looked at his face and I saw he was too emotional. I said, no way he's gonna win. I was telling my trainer, I said, he's gonna lose tonight. I walk around the ring, but I never take my eyes off my opponent. I keep my eyes on him, even if he's ready and pumping. He can't wait to get his hands on me as well. I keep my eyes on him. I keep my eyes on him. I keep my eyes on him. Then once I see a chink in his armor, boom, and one of his eyes may move, and then I know I have him. He still looks at me with his piercing look, and as if he's not afraid, but he already made that mistake when he looked down for that 1/10 of a second.
Hello. Despite an inability to communicate himself in a high-pitched voice, we can all feel it. That aura of contempt, that instinctive readiness to kill. We feel a malice that could snap at any moment resonating in his eyes, yet there are no emotions. When Mike enters the arena, his mind is free associative. His mind is in flow, cocktailed with this savage primal instinctiveness to hurt, ferocious, calm. And the emotions we feel are not his, but our own. We feel angry for feeling this way, defensive, fear, for we sense the presence of a true monster, thus innately our own testosterone spikes. When Mike had Cus D'Amato by his side, he truly was untouchable. Part 1. Psychological Warfare. Mike was a master of psychological warfare. He knew the negative impact of having emotions flood your mind. They tax your energy reserves, making you stiff through cortisol, stifling the fluid snap in your shoulders, reducing your overall force in punching power. But more so than that, they make you hesitant in an arena that has no patience, zero forgiveness for even a moment of idleness. He understood this intuitively and in brilliance sought to sow the seeds of fear, anger, emotion into the hearts of his opponents. And in his mad dog mind saw it in their eyes. He saw the widening of their eyelids, exposing the whites of their eyes, reflexive to high amounts of cortisol, high amounts of tension. He knew. He smelled it, and it further pumped him up, often making forceful sexual comments to his opponents because the testosterone genuinely made him hard. His instinctive intent, testosterone, flow state, they all went up, while his opponents all went down. We talk so much about how brilliant this man's punching power was, but because he had trouble expressing himself in words, we almost missed his devastating psychology. This man in the arena was an absolute terror inside and out. Part 2. Punch philosophy quotations from Mike. I always try to aim to the back of my opponent's head. Fantasize my punch going through them in and out of the back of their head. It sounds like a brutal sport, but it's just a technique. It's just an art. And when people hear you talk in this type of fashion, they think of you as some brutal monster. But it's all about the skill, the speed, the accuracy, and that's basically what I name my style after. People don't have the slightest idea of how hard it is to break somebody's jaw or eye socket. They think it's just the power, but it's the accuracy of the power. Every punch is thrown with bad intention and the speed of the devil. In football, there's a common technique taught to players to increase the overall power of their tackle. It's not to imagine your tackle hitting your opponent straight on, but to imagine your tackle going behind your opponent, that you're going through him. This has shown to increase the overall force of the tackle dramatically. Now, this could be because it reduces hesitation in the tackle, a placebo, or maybe something esoteric like the law of attraction. But one thing is for certain. Mike Tyson uses the same philosophy in his punches. He is imagining every single one of his punches going through his opponent's skull, which I'm certain is contributing to part of his power. On top of that, with a focus on speed and bad intention, he further ensures he holds nothing back with each blow. It truly is no wonder his opponents can't take it. It's no wonder one of his punches are equivalent to the average man swinging a baseball bat. Don't do this to your training partners. It's important not to kill each other as you help each other grow. Save it for the bag, the pads, and the arena. Part 3. Cus D'Amato.
He just kept saying these great things about us. To this day, I didn't know this guy was great. He just kept saying great things. He said, man, you're a great fighter. He just kept saying, you're the greatest. You do splendid. You look great. You're looking better. He just kept giving me compliments and compliments about everything I did. So what's the wrong with this guy? I never had the slightest idea he was building up my confidence. You know, just totally intimidated fighting somebody in the ring. But I put myself together with the discipline I learned from Cus, and I went in the ring and I scored the 3rd round knockout.
Mike Tyson grew up in a very harsh environment. If boxing had not come into his life, he probably would have joined a gang to survive, inevitably dying as a pawn for some drug cartel. Despite what you think about the brutish nature of boxing, the brutish nature of Mike Tyson, it not only saved this man's life in a world that was full of racist fools, but it gave him one. Cus D'Amato was the cornerstone of all of that. Mike was initially emotionally fragile, but his coach, through decades of experience, knew one thing, that the most important part of any good fighter is self-confidence, their self-perception. And so as long as Mike Tyson was trying, he would always say, "You're doing great, Mike. Awesome work, Mike. You can do it, Mike." Even when his techniques were imperfect, even when he knew he would screw up the method, he would push him forward with positivity. And naturally, through practice, the perfection would come. When we look at Mike in his prime, he oozes in this aura of self-confidence, and we have Cus to thank for that. Cus, rest in peace. You were a good man who believed in a lost soul, and through it, forged a champion in a world that told him he'd be a failure. You may have bred a monster in the arena, but a soft father, full of love outside of it. And for this lesson, I too am eternally grateful to you. Mike Tyson, through hard work, forged the body of a beast. But we must never neglect the mind, for that is where it all stems. Mind forges body, and through the body, you forge the world before you. As you think, so shall you become. Bruce Lee. Thank you, Mike, and thank you, Cus, for this lesson. Thank you, everyone who watched this video. Please don't forget to smash that like button if you enjoyed. It's good karma. And until next time, peace.
Or someone else didn't try to think it was important for a diabetes patient to have all that attention. It's real, okay? When my A1C was 7.5, my doctor flipped that screen on that PC and was like, okay, that's fine. I got your blood reserve. Yeah, it's HIV negative. We know that. Okay, you know your STD free. We know that. Okay, you always come test for that. You don't sleep around. You gotta know what about. This is what we need to worry about. Your A1C is 7.5. That's considered uncontrollable diabetes. Now I gotta send you over, get a referral, send you over to the specialist, and make sure you're not going blind. I seen that Solano County Dermatology here in Fairfield Mall. You know what I mean? Over there with the old Toys R Us, used to be around by Trader Joe's, Solano County Diagnostics. I'm good. It was a scare. I went from borderline to type 2. Then they had to send me over and make sure my kidneys wouldn't fail. I don't want to be on dialysis. That was pretty close. If it wasn't for my Aunt Linda, or my boy homie Daniel, that's trying to support this fight cause, I'd be dead. There is no ifs, ands, buts about it. You know why? Because I was dying. And I was still drinking. Dying on that, I didn't even know Cowboy Dave saved me on the alcohol part. King Zavato, Kingdom Government. Kingdom Institution, my life coach, Eric Ceballos. If it weren't for him, keep taking me in, I wouldn't be where I'm at now. Still alive. And don't want to push when you don't want to push, or humble yourself when you really don't want to humble yourself. But if you can survive Eric, you know you're in a good path. And Eric is the one who can get you to the right path. Kingdomship Institute, forever. I recommend that program for anyone that wants to be strong and become a man. Listen to Eric Ceballos, man. Listen to Tobin. Listen to him. Don't listen to me. Listen to Tobin. Listen to Eric. Yeah. He'll keep you alive. Sadly, we lost a homie. Sean, I kept going back and forth. I didn't know Sean Heron was gone. I didn't know he even came back. Last time I saw Sean Heron, he was walking by Little Caesars. And he was talking about he didn't want to stay on Grande because he'd be fighting every day at some old thing, whatever, his personal life. Him and Eric, now he gone. They found him dead in Frisco. Like Eric said, man, it's not going to be green on the other side if you don't listen. Tell me to support the cause, man. RP him. Never forgotten. Never forget. Now we'll fight. We're going to fight. Yeah, we're going to fight, buddy. We're going to fight. We're going to get that fight. Somebody out there shares the same belief I do. Let's pray he comes quick. If I get too much older, I'm 40 years old. I'll be 41 September 1st. My 80s baby. September 1st, 1980. The father of Isabella Victoria Williams. She's been adopted out. Or now her name is Isabella Jezebel Fika. She was kidnapped by her maternal grandparents and took her all the way up to Sandpoint, Idaho. She was so far up in Idaho, she's up near Catalina. I'm just saying, up in Sandpoint, Idaho, Bonner County, Bonner County.
Never had an ego. I was never really jealous of anybody. I never really thought most of myself. But when I met Cuss and I started talking to Cuss, he made me believe that I was a god. There was nobody that could reach the core like Cuss could. No one could inspire me. Cuss would say this, do you hear this? Because Cuss had a really, he had this really megalomaniac ego. He said, let me tell you something. You, all the prophets, all the gods you ever know about, if they had a son, their son couldn't be my fighter. Know why? Because he's my fighter. Cuss was an interesting guy. He had the concept of fear down to a science. And most of his fighting was mostly psychological. He believed the physical actuality of boxing was only 10% when the mind was 90%. He always believed in improving yourself and strengthening your mind. Strong believer that your body only purpose was to carry your brain. He believed fighting was your opponent's surrender, his total destruction. And he didn't think of it as, even though he said it was savage and ferociously, you had to do it in such a relaxed and calm state. A really scientific way of destroying. He enjoyed hurting the opponent. He wanted them to never have a chance to believe they could beat you.
I love Christian philosophy. I love my testing philosophy.
Everything was that I'm invincible, I'm a savage, I'm ferocious, I'm the smartest savage. A sophisticated animal, a smart animal, the lion and the fox. You know what I mean? I could beat the vicious guys and I got outsmart the slickster. So I was pretty much didactyl in that apartment. Mostly books about war, Claude von Clausewitz. And this is why Cuss read all those books. Cuss was pretty much an intellect. He was an intellectual and philosopher about war. And he thought fighting was a form of war. I wanted to make Cuss proud. That was my whole existence for fighting. I wanted to make him proud. If someone said something negative about me, he was the old man, he would attack them. He would do anything for me. Well, the peekaboo is a really a cool style of boxing. It basically kept both your hands up, and it basically you twist at your waist and you move, and you come forward, make the guy miss, you counter punching. Pretty much, he really discovered it from karate. You watch karate people do it, and just move, get to one position, and punch with everything you got with bad and mean, ferocious intention. I love war. I love the act of war. I love the players in war. I love the philosophy of war. There's a quote in Machiavelli the Prince, and when they say, after you defeat the king and you cut off his head, you be audacious and you say what you're going to do to the next ruler and the next prince that you're going to conquer, and that allows them to be intimidated. Yeah, this is the moment I know I wanted to be a fighter. Watching two masters fight. After watching these guys.
I know you, Christine, baby.
I know.
Thinking about you, Christine. How my baby?
They were fighting, they fought 15 rounds and it was a war, but none of them had a mark on their face.
Yeah, they got me.
But it was a hard fight, but nobody had a mark on their face. His master technician. He was a street fighter like me. He was cruel and mean. I never looked at I respected Ali and I worshiped Ali, but he was very tall and very handsome. I was very short and not so handsome. And he was very articulate, and I spoke with a lisp. And I didn't relate to two besides we were black. Ali was a middle class kid here. The mother and father that both worked. My mother and father was in the sex industry. So and Roberta the grandmother was pretty much, out there as well. And so I related to that. And I didn't have to change. I didn't have to change my dictionary. I didn't have to learn how to talk polite. I didn't have to be nice. I didn't have to have a proper linguistic skill. And so if he could be accepted and be worshipped that way, that's what I would be able to as well. After that fight, he pushed Lenny, went to some other guy, and he told him to suck his balls. You have to understand, I'm only 14 years old when these guys fought. This is 1980, so I'm 14 years old, and I just thought that was the most remarkable person in the world. I was born with great perception. If it came from my street life, from being locked up for stealing and facing unbelievable odds as a young kid, I had great perception. And once I watched these guys fight, I just knew it was a matter of time, but I knew my time would soon come. So Reggie Gross is a real tough guy. He's a spoiler. He beat a lot of undefeated fighters. And everybody thought he was going to go at least 10 rounds with me and give me a tough fight. I have to move my hand. I have to be very elusive. And I know I want to hurt him desperately. I want to dismantle him. Watch this. Watch my head. When this is over, everybody's going to know my name. And the people that I fight after him, they're going to fear me. And that's pretty much how my reign consists of just fear. And on occasion, some guys like him, who's a tough guy, they would try to fight back. And that would just allow me to excel at an extremely high level. I never wanted to be obscure. I was born in obscurity and I never wanted to deal with that again. I know I would attain my goal before it existed. I knew that. I knew I would be champ of the world before I died. I knew I wasn't going to die before I became champ. I was just disappointed that I didn't kill them back then. That was just my main objective because I wanted to succeed so bad, and I failed. And the fear of not succeeding was worse than dying. So I just wanted to make sure they never got up. Our war was winning and beating people and looking spectacular doing it. You know, it wasn't about anything. Our whole life wasn't about making money. It wasn't about being rich. And nobody on the planet could beat us. That was everything. My whole life is the best fight in the world. Best fight in the world. There's nobody on the planet that could beat me. I could beat anybody on the planet in a fair fight. And that's what I always believe. How many people on this planet? After what? Around 5 billion people? 6 billion? I said I could beat every one of them in a fair fight. I must be a descendant of the great warriors of old, all the gods of war, because I'm winning with the most simplest of ease. How could these guys even dare fight me? I must be ordained by God. Dying is just as glorious as living when you really think about it, because you couldn't have a life if you didn't have death, and you couldn't have death without life. So how can death be less glorious than life? They're both intertwined with one another.
Did you know there was a government-funded education grant that could deposit up to $38,070 directly into your bank account? Yeah, that's right. Anyone who is unemployed or currently makes less than $80,000 a year may qualify. If you're tired of living...
Oh boy.
How do I express this? I've never expressed this, but how do I start? I was never able to understand the concept of greatness. As time went on and I've gotten older and I've met many journeys on people that I met on my journey and people who I read about on my journey. I read that greatness in itself doesn't come with goodness. The two don't coexist with one another. I spent all my life trying to become great because I had such a low self-esteem. And I realized late in life, well, I'll say I'm 47, but late in my life, that all great men are not good men. And then so I try to embark on a whole different career and try to become good. But what's the concept of good? Being a floor mat, I never understood the concept of good. And the concept of good is pretty much then, I must be a politician, because politicians are always striking for goodness and always trying to win votes from people. And the only reason that we win votes because they believe that we're good. So how do we live in those two dimensions at once? You want that greatness for self-gratification, but you want goodness from a human perspective. And I really have no idea, no clue how do I juggle both of them and be in harmony. And then in all actuality, they don't exist. You have to pick a side.
Keep the head down when you come up with the H. Keep your head down. Yeah, I mean, it's not coming up, but starting to come up. To make it perfect. It's good, but it's not perfect.
I respect the person who's willing to die for what he truly wants. Even if it's love, even if it's a woman, whatever it is that he truly believes in, and that he believes that it transcends him to that level to demand for love, for instance. I look at love as a command to just rise to your greatest potential, you know, and that's how people should feel. Their objective should be to rise to their best potential in life. If it's to lose 30 pounds, if it's to pass a test, it should be to win a fight, to be admired by people all over the world. It should allow you to rise to your greatest potential, that you look at yourself in the most grandest fashion. The value of history is not necessarily scientific but moral. By liberating our minds and deepening our sympathies and fortifying our will, we can control pretty much. History allows us to control not society but ourselves, which is a much more important thing to do. You know what I mean? And it would allow us to pretty much meet the future more so than foretell it. And for that reason alone, that we always have to, in order to predict the future, we have to always look through the past, because very rarely does time not repeat itself, and it always will repeat itself. I've heard a quote before in the book that we would be fools to think historically that the past is us in funny clothes, but the past is us in funny clothes. And that's truly what it is. So that's somebody that really said a really profound statement, but he misquote what he was saying. He must have been saying it backwards, because that's really what the past was. It's just us in funny clothes in different times. That's really what it is.
Is boxing for you really about revenge?
No, it's just that, you know, I never take my losses personally, because I didn't take it personal. I'm not trying to even the score. I'm moving on to other places, which are probably dark and places I've never been before, but I'm not afraid to go there. I'm not afraid to lose in life. I'm not afraid to do anything. I won't do anything. Matter of fact, I won't do anything. Matter of fact, like my show, there's nothing I would do unless I have possibility of being humiliated. If I can't be humiliated, if I fail, I don't want to do it. Because only by doing that, I would rise to my highest potential. Because when I succeed, I truly succeed. I'm a fucking student of war. I know all the warriors from Charlemagne, Achilles, the #1 warrior of all warriors. From there, Alexander, Napoleon, I know them all. I read them all, I studied them all. I know the art of fight, I know the art of war. That's all I ever studied. That's why I'm so feared. That's why they feared me when I was in the ring. Because that's all I was an annihilator. That's all I was born for. Now those days are gone. It's empty. I'm nothing. I'm working on being the art of humbleness. Can you be with me? That's the reason why I'm crying, because I'm not that person no more. And I miss them. Because sometimes I feel like a bitch. Because I don't want that person to come out, because if he comes out, hell is coming with him. I was going to rip his heart out. I'm the best ever. I'm the most brutal and vicious and most ruthless champion there's ever been. There's no one can stop me. Lynx is a conqueror. No, I'm Alexander. He's no Alexander. I'm the best ever. There's never been anybody as ruthless. I'm Sonny Liston. I'm Jack Dempsey. There's no one like me. I'm from Nairclaw. There's no one that can match me. My style is impetuous. My defense is impregnable. And I'm just ferocious. I want your heart. I want to eat his children. What I can remember from the day I was born, it was always hard time, welfare, not much food, no money, crime infested neighborhoods, murders, pimps, prostitutes, drugs, and it was survival of the fittest. And I had an older brother who was 5 years older than me, so he didn't spend much time around the house. He was in the programs. He was very smart and intelligent. He was the special kid on the block that was always in school. And me and my sisters got caught up in the street life. So I was bullied a lot as a kid. I used to have pigeons, and one particular time some bully grabbed one of my pigeons and ripped his head off, and that was the first time I ever got into a fight. And I kind of like won. I was young, like 9, but I kind of like won. And
I like fighting ever since because it gave me attention. People would say, hey, you was that guy that beat that big kid up. You was that guy. And I was like, everybody knew me from that incident. And so after that, older kids would bring other kids from different neighborhoods around my neighborhood, and they would pay us to fight each other. And that's how I started fighting. I probably had, in my life, I probably had 400 fights.
How many?
400.
Wow. Well, in your professional career, you
No,
had like 50,
that's 50.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
like 50 or 60.
Yeah.
That's the street that had about 400.
Wow. And you were in trouble with the law, I know, early in the
Yeah.
stage, right? And when did you get introduced to drugs?
I've been drugs since I was 9 years old.
Wow. What kind of drugs back then?
Cocaine, marijuana, alcohol, liquor. Because when I was younger, my mother, who wasn't educated on drugs and alcohol, she'd been in college. In order to perhaps get me to go to sleep, I was making a lot of noise. She would give me alcohol.
Wow.
Thinking I would go to sleep,
Yeah.
at that time. And so I started getting into a lot of trouble. By the time I was 12, I was arrested probably 40 times.
Yeah.
Everybody in the juvenile and the police department knew my name. Everybody, I was, the regular. And so eventually they sent me away, and I was in this place. They sent me there for 2 years. And so I'm there, and eventually I get shipped away to another reformatory upstate New York. And I meet this gentleman named Bobby Stewart, who's a former professional fighter. Not a big-time fighter, but just a former professional fighter. 4 10-round fights, never big time. And every weekend he started, he would box with the kids. And then one particular day, he boxed me, and he beat the shit out of me, but I took the beat, and he hit me in the stomach. I fell down, I got back up, but he kept beating the shit out of me. But I took it, and he thought that was a badge of courage. And so he started boxing me, started teaching me how to box. And then eventually I was, 13 then. I became too good. So he had said, I have to take you somewhere else for someone that could take you to the next level. And so I went and I met Customato. And beating him was...
Did you know who he was?
I had no idea.
I
had no idea about boxers.
Wow.
I was just doing this stuff. And I boxed with Bobby, and Bobby really bloody my nose. He beat me up pretty bad that particular time because I was really putting it on, trying to impress Cuss. And Cuss said, this is the next champion, providing he doesn't lose interest. So he said how old he was. And I said, he's 13. Then Cuss said he's lying. He doesn't want to go to prison with the grown adults, so he said he was 13.
Wow.
And so Bobby Stewart, because everything Cuss says is the Bible. So he said, tell me the truth. After all these years, I've been there 2 years with him, and I said, tell me the truth. How old are you? I said, I'm 13. I'm 13. He said, tell me the truth. I said, I'm 13. So he got my birth certificate. He found out I was 13. And then cussing those guys just automatically. I didn't even agree to it. They said, this is what you're going to do. You're going to be heavyweight champ. You're going to win the Olympics. You're going to win the gold medal. You're going to do this. And you're going to become heavyweight champ. You're going to be this and that. And I didn't want him to think I was afraid. My whole life lived off my ego. Just I was a megalomaniac with a low self-esteem. If you said something, I always say I'm nobody. But if it's something I want to accomplish, I'm the greatest. I'm a god. I can still accomplish something. But as far as my perspective on myself, I'm shit. Look at the life I come from. Even though I'm making all the money in the world, but look at me. My mother, my father, they're sex workers. What the fuck am I? Who am I? I'm a piece